Islam. Welcome to another episode of Moorish Sense, the Moorish Sense radio show. We debate, we communicate, we don't debate. I am Brendan Jordan L, and I'm alongside,
I'm Sheik Melvin Valance Bay.
and we thank you all for tuning in this evening. Tonight's subject, Moorish conduct and character. Of course, we want to confirm ourselves for the record. But first and foremost, I'd like to rise and give praises to the Universal Creator. Many names, Universal Creator goes by many names. I personally choose to use the name. I call by His name, which is Allah, which is His personal and proper name. I give praises to the great Universal Creator Allah, giving honor to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who came and brought us our nationality, our birthrights, our divine creed, and gave us back our vast estate, Islam. Tonight we'll be drawing from Moorish conduct and character. I would like to pick up on the Moorish literature, which is a compilation of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali's works, Islam. And specifically when we're dealing with conduct and character, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali gives you and I a guideline. He gives us a guideline on how we're supposed to conduct ourselves as Moorish Americans, men and women, as well as children. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali demonstrates our character and our conduct, even in our divine constitution and bylaws, specifically Act 7. Tonight, I wanted to draw from the Prophet Noble Drew Ali's works and teachings, which is general laws as said by the Prophet. Now, this particular mandate that was given and directed by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was Tuesday, October 17th, 1928. And ironically, no irony to it, but it just so happened that October 17, 1928 was during the time of the first annual convention. Is that right, Sheik?
That's right. Islam. It was the first annual convention of the Moorish Science Temple of America was held October the 15th through the 20th, 1928.
Praise Allah. Yeah. Praise Allah. So I'm going to take a reading, and I just want to point out and hit on a few points. General laws as said by the Prophet, Tuesday, October 17th, 1928, coming from the Moorish God. Every temple and head is to function by words, deeds, and actions, imitating the Prophet, especially when teaching a group of Moors, any group of Moors. These are the general laws. The supreme laws will be handed down you later. The heads of all temples are to submit a report monthly of all finance. The heads of all temples are to refrain from all wrathful words, profanity in the mildest form, from all members of his or her temple. They must live the life of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and refrain from all alcoholic liquors or any other harmful possibility that will be a detriment to peace, to destroy peace, or any other of the divine principles. They are not to contribute to anything that will cause the public to disagree with him or her. And for one to lead a group of Moors, you must keep your house clean with good words, kind words. Your wives, brothers must hear good words, kind words, and must know of your good deeds. If there are children, you must see to their support. Follow this divine principle. For if you don't restrict to this divine principle, then you are not a true Moor. And the heads are not to charge membership or to overcharge for cards, buttons, or anything issued by the Prophet. Those who contribute to either the proceeding are not Moors but robbers. And that's very important, you know.
Yeah, very important.
Yeah.
And let me say, right, here, October the 17th, 1928, you see that, you know, the Prophet had to hand down some general laws.
Right.
Maybe people were not acting according to whatever that had been issued to them. So the Prophet, you know, him being divine as who he is, he issued out general laws. Right. These are general things that we should abide by,
exactly,
which are in line with our, as we said, principles, which are to be internalized.
That's right.
And, you know, if you see people going left according to this right here, because our organization, the Moorish Science Temple of America, according to the Quran questions for Moorish Americans, it was for the uplifting of fallen humanity.
That's right.
So the people who are referring to themselves as being Negroes, Blacks, Coloreds, Ethiopians, and whatever names that they choose to call themselves today, they have fell to a state where, you know, they needed to be uplifted.
Exactly.
And this is where, you know, we come in, we join an organization, we become members.
That's right.
And as a result of becoming members, we have some general laws that we need to follow.
Exactly.
And if you see people that's, you know, drinking alcohol, we're not saying beat them up,
right?
But hey, you going, man can't serve two masters.
Not at all.
You know, he gonna love one and hate the other.
That's right.
And you know, when we look at all prophets of old, we see that, you know, they were poised men.
That's right.
You know, they were uplifting people to come into the knowledge of what it is that they needed to do in order to carry out the mission that was sent to them by the great God of Allah.
Absolutely.
So this is, you know, and imitate.
That's right.
That's a very interesting word, you know, because you have people who say, I'm gonna imitate the prophet.
Right. Yeah.
Well, let's define what imitate means.
Let's do that.
It means to take or follow as a model. You know, so now we see that the Prophet Noble Ali was not robbing people.
That's right.
He was not overcharging them.
That's right.
You know, he wanted them to practice and bring them into nationhood.
And talks about moderation too.
Oh, moderation.
That's right.
Of course. But, you know, we know that, hey, alcohol and all, you know, all those, you know, vices, marijuana, these are vices that keep us in constant, they, you know, that the five folds of man that's in our record.
That's right.
It tears us away from Allah. So, you know, if you can come as you are into the Moorish Science Temple of America, but you cannot stay that way.
That's right.
You know, you have to work towards uplifting yourself and reaching Allah, because those things are impairments to the mind, your faculties, and it suppresses your spirit.
That's right.
You know, so yeah, real interesting. So, you know, the Prophet Noble Ali didn't do these things. So if we're imitating him, we shouldn't do those things.
You know, it's pretty interesting you said that, because about like 2 weeks ago, I noticed a video of a brother. The brother had the flag hanging outside of the car.
Right.
You know, the brother was yelling profanity, things of that nature. Like, you know, I often hear people, you know, they say, well, you know, I'm a Moor. Yeah, you're a Moor. But it's to be a Moorish American, it takes Muslim. It takes a lot, because we're talking about, you know, changing your old habits.
That's right.
Breaking habits.
That's
you
right.
know, changing your
time
mindset. Right. Because the Prophet Noble Ali, as you said, the Prophet Noble Ali, you know, he took us from Negro, Black, and color. So we got to leave those things in the past. Right. You know, we bring memory today when we about, you know, alongside our people. But our goal as Moorish Americans, we're supposed to be elevating our people.
Right.
Not setting a bad example, or being a detriment. Like the Prophet said, the Prophet's general laws is a detriment. And that brings me to my next point, because you might say to yourself, well, you know, Sheikh Jordan, you know, what that was almost 100 years ago. No, we're talking about sources. Right. You know, it says that, you know, the seed is as perfect as a source in which it comes from. And I'm paraphrasing more, you know, but ultimately the Prophet Noble Ali is a source. It comes from the great God Allah. So we being the children of the Prophet Noble Ali, we're just as perfect, but we have a gradual growth and development we have to do. And when you look at the source, because this is what this is, Moors, this is a source. Sources can be maps, can be documents, it can be images, it can be cliometric, statistics, all these different aspects. And the Prophet Noble Ali actually demonstrates those particular aspects in our Holy Quran in the Moorish Science of America, Circle 7. The Prophet demonstrates that. So, you know, we definitely need to stick to the foundation in which the Prophet Noble Ali has given you and I. You know, we'll find ourselves being better fathers, better husbands, you know, better all friends,
right.
Co-workers, everything.
Employees
or employers.
Or entrepreneurs.
Right, exactly. You know, we're gonna be better people.
Correct.
You know, we can actually start talking about operating as a nation. You talk often about operational unity. Right?
Operational unity. Right. Yeah. We talked a little bit about operational unity on the first show.
Okay.
And you know, basically, people are talking about, well, who came first.
Right.
It doesn't make a difference.
Exactly.
You know, if I see, like you said, if I see good in you,
Right.
and you see good in me, then we can better get along.
That's right.
Right. And that what you were just talking about, source, it takes us back to what we were talking about the first show, that, you know, the doctrine of the Moorish Science Temple of America is based on an ancient, if you will, a mystical tradition for some.
Okay.
But it's not so mystical to others who carefully observe those particular teachings.
Also.
And that's based off of know thyself.
Okay.
So now, I don't care where you went, in any part of the world, whatever language that you spoke, most temples that you went into, or before you even got in there, over top of the temple, we talking about Greece.
Wow.
We talking about Egypt.
Okay.
You know, you can even examine Mexico, the Toltec tradition,
Okay.
and various other ancient traditions. You'll find that over top of the doors, they had know thyself.
Wow.
And this shows that we had a global network. Right. It's not just about coming from Africa or the Americas. Right. You know, we had a global network. And this is what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was trying to, or attempting, not even trying, this is what he was gearing us up towards. And we can recognize or prove that according to chapter 47 of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. That's right. That we had a global network.
Right. So you telling me the Prophet wasn't only a scientist, he was also a historian.
Yeah, you know, the Prophet, he comes, the reason we are called the Moorish Science Temple of America, because all the time the Prophet is not speaking from a religious point of view. Okay. Sometimes he's speaking from a legal point of view. Okay. Sometimes he's speaking from a general aspect and way of life point of view. Sometimes he's speaking from, you know, a historical point of view. Right. So we have to carefully observe his teachings. Right. Now, interesting, carefully is a compound word. Okay. Made up of, well, you know, I could be stand corrected, but it's care and fully. Right. Right. And praise Allah for teacher Art Munjinbay, because he examines these two particular definitions in his book, SO Science, right? And volume 1, and it says care means serious mental attention, right? To feel concern or interest. Now, so now in knowing ourselves, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali teaches us we have a higher self and a lower self. That's right. And basically what happens is if we're not careful, depending on what self we're operating out of, our serious mental attention might not be there, or the feel or concern or our interest can be in the wrong direction. Wow. Which can lead others in the wrong direction. And we see this happening on the Moorish circuits, especially in the last 15 years. And when we talk about fully, which makes up the word carefully, means entirely, perfectly, completely, counting all that can be received. Okay. You understand? So now this takes prayer, meditation, you know, and knowing that we don't know it all. That's right. You know, we have to take steps. That's right. And our lessons come in degrees. That's right. Yeah. That's right. Degrees, lessons. That's right. Absolutely. Praise the Lord. That's right. And with saying that, also, when we're talking about the Prophet being a historian, you know, and we being good historians and custodians, that's right. Historians shouldn't argue or narrate beyond what evidence demonstrates is the truth. That's you know, because Prophet Noble Drew Ali gives you and I, in our Quran questions, our authority, he tells you what truth is. And truth is all, and all is a lot. So, you know, when we look at this particular lesson that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali gives you and I, we understand that, look, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali has given us the historical point of view, as you said. He might even come from a scientific point of view, but ultimately he's given us the clear-cut example of what to follow. That's anything else that we get or we might retrieve or find after studying the Prophet, along with the Quran questions from Moorish Americans, we use those as supplemental sources to help us, you know. Because the thing is, a lot of people, you know, I like analyzing Moorish Americans across the circuit, right? That's right. And a lot of Moors, I'm not gonna say a lot, but a great deal of Moors
I'm starting to realize that some Moors don't know the difference between a primary and a secondary source.
Oh yeah,
So you're looking at them, and I say to myself, okay, that's primary, but that's secondary. You got to know the difference between the two because you don't want to lead the people down the wrong path. You come up with some type of information, but the information is secondary.
correct.
The primary source that we should use and utilize as Moorish American Muslims works and teachings of Prophet Noble Drew, the Moorish literature, the Holy Quran, the Moorish Science of America, the Divine Constitution and bylaws. We got to utilize these because when we utilize these, we can't stray away from the foundation.
That's right.
That's right.
And people don't read.
Okay.
And what I mean by read, I'm talking about read carefully,
right,
and know the reading skills.
Right.
So let's reading skills, you use background knowledge.
That's right.
You ask questions, you identify the author's purpose. In this instance, we're talking about Prophet Noble Drew is the author, and we want to identify what his purpose is.
That's right.
We want to identify the main idea of the various, ultimately the main idea of the Moorish Science Temple of America is to make all of those who, were calling themselves or are calling themselves Negroes, Blacks, and Coloreds, etc. We want to, make them better citizens,
right.
And ultimately make them, better family people.
That's right.
Because, this is the source of, each person, especially males, are the source,
right,
as we've been talking about,
right,
of how their family upbringing would be, of structure.
Exactly. School.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you said
main idea.
It brought me back to the concept of school. Because that's something that, my teachers, when I was in grade school, it said, find the main idea.
That's right.
Okay, where's the main idea?
Mm-hmm.
So you're telling me that we are actually in a school, so to speak.
Yeah, because in the first show, we demonstrated that the Moorish Science Temple of America is a school.
Praise Allah.
And for the sake of understanding, we'll define what a school is.
That's right.
It's any institution at which instruction is given in a particular discipline.
Wow.
And this particular discipline that we're talking about is Moorish science.
That's right.
And some people will say, oh, there's no such thing. But Moorish science means more sense and more insight into life and how one can live life.
That's right.
And how we can better live it.
Right.
Not to try to find a way around, not getting arrested or committing a crime. Right. And that's not what Moorish science is about. So in a school that has a discipline, another name for discipline is curriculum.
Okay.
In the curriculum, by definition, are the subjects comprising a course of study in a school or a college. Right. Okay. So we have a course of study.
That's right.
And even to the point to where though we make it to a senior course.
That's true.
You see, and basically, as a student, we must study. And what study means is we apply the mind in the acquisition of knowledge.
Okay.
And in this case, the knowledge that we're trying to come into is understanding who we are and where we come from as a people.
That's right.
And why we should not refer to ourselves as names that delude to slavery.
That's right.
And of course, in further shows, we'll go into why we don't want to call ourselves Black and etc.
That's right.
But you can't come into the Moorish Science Temple of America and keep the old behavior.
Not at all.
Because it's going to cause friction.
That's right.
And that's what we see here now.
That's right.
in this current time.
That's a blessing that you talk about. You made mention of, the Prophet Noble Drew actually dealing with the past and putting us to the now. Like,
that's right.
Let the earlier parts of where we come from.
That's right.
And why we should not, hold on to certain things that have never met us any good in the first place.
Absolutely.
And the Prophet Noble Drew is demonstrating chronology. Because when you look at chronological events, something occurred and there's a chain reaction.
That's
so when you look up chronology actually is a list of events over a time in order, right? And this is what the Prophet Noble Drew demonstrates. He demonstrates that in Acts 6. But not only Acts 6, the Prophet Noble Drew demonstrates that throughout the Holy Quran and Moorish Science of America.
Absolutely.
It's chronology. Whatever way you read it, it's chronology.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the blessing right there. That's definitely a blessing.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
Yeah.
So, another interesting thing is because all of the things that we spoke about,
Okay.
and knowing that we have a higher self and a lower self,
Right.
it brings about more morality.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Or morals.
That's right.
And that's I like to define moral.
Okay.
And moral is holding or manifesting high principle for proper conduct.
So that means you have to be careful, and you also have to be selective in what it is that you are not only researching, but what you're putting out to the public.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And how it's being put out.
That's right. Exactly.
Because we say all the time, we give honor to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, which are the 5 highest principles known to man. So this is building our character and our conduct. Not hanging out a window without a flag, yelling at the police officer. Right. Because that's things of the lower side.
That's right.
So we have to be very clear of what it is that, we are doing. And even a month later,
wow,
right? November the 9th, was it 9th? Yeah, 9th, 1928. In the article of the prophet has spoken to Camelback off of what you demonstrated as far as what the
general laws.
Right. The prophet in the humanity pamphlet, which is given to officials mainly.
That's right.
He basically states, and the prophet has spoken Friday, November the 9th, 1928. And the prophet says, all governors and grand sheiks and head officials that guide any body of Moors of any temple of the Moorish Science Temple of America, he or she must be of moral standard and a heart of love, and their works must be of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. They are to imitate the prophet in speech and teaching in any said temple. They must not be under the influence of intoxicating liquors or any other harmful motive that will terminate to become a detriment to the organization. It must not be known that any leader is staying away from home or neglecting his duty at home, or must allow the public to know of their wrongdoings. They must forever live the life of love at home, and it must be known by all the members. They must not speak rash words, use any profane language in the mildest form before any other individuals, because a leader without influence of good works cannot be a leader. And to be a real Moorish leader, you must study the Quran and the divine constitution that is handed down unto you by me, the prophet.
Okay.
And that's important because he's telling us himself that this is what he wanted. Right. And now you have some Johnny come latelys who say, well, the prophet didn't say that, or he didn't mean this. Right. He says what he means.
Right here. And you don't have to rely, I'm not speaking radical, but you really, I see a lot of Moors who focus so much on the oral statements.
Okay.
Secondary sources.
Okay.
The prophet said this, and it's coming from brother or sister so-and-so.
Okay.
Which is fine and all and dandy, but the prophet Obadiah Ali, this is black and white. It's on ink, right? It's a document. It's a piece of evidence. This is factual evidence of what the prophet said. The prophet said that we're to conduct ourselves in a certain way.
That's right.
That we aren't supposed to do certain things because the prophet Obadiah Ali, was carrying us into a new era of time.
That's right.
And the mind is also in the mind, manifested in the mind, but also in our life, our life conduct.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's right. So we're talking about morality, morals, having morals, and something that kind of, it was just brought to my attention, like, you see a lot of individuals. So I'm glad you said, the prophet said this, the prophet said that. People are taking the prophet's works, specifically his literatures, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science of America, and they're changing it and altering it. And some people are actually taking the prophet's works and they're changing the words of it.
Yeah, I've seen that.
But that's unethical. That's actually plagiarism.
That's
But
right.
when you look at it, that's stealing someone else's or representing somebody else's words or ideas. So now you're telling me in one instance, you stand for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
Mhm.
You love the prophet over dry lead. But in the same instance, you're taking the founder of this movement, the one who brought us our nationality back, our flag back, and you're taking it, you're altering his words to suit your own desires.
Purpose or interest.
Yeah, your interest, your self-invested interest.
Right. Yeah. So that goes back to that definition that we talked about.
Okay.
When we were talking about carefully care,
Okay.
which is to feel concern or interest.
Hmm.
What do you actually care about?
Right.
Do you care about just you,
Right.
or do you care about
the greater
good of our people?
That's
being a nation of people?
That's right.
And not just you trying to get rich or
bring people onto you and
right.
all that. Right.
Lead them to Prophet Noble Ali.
That's right.
Because he definitely, truly is the man of the hour.
That's right.
And he is one of the best kept secrets
Definitely.
of what's going on here in the United States of America.
Absolutely.
So
that's right. Absolutely. We just still talking about, conduct doing, and again, I referenced earlier about the divine constitution and bylaws. When you read the divine constitution and bylaws, the Prophet Noble Ali gives us Act 1 through Act 7, and the Prophet Noble Ali is teaching you and I what ethics look like.
That's right.
What does it mean to be ethical? How does a Moorish American Muslim conduct his or herself?
Correct.
Do you attain meetings? Attain meetings on time. Promptly attain meetings on time. Give praises to the great God we understand.
Right.
Also, make sure that you're not slandering your brother or sister in public or in private.
That's right.
Because these things are important. Because we'll read it on your countenance, or you might read it on my countenance if I'm not being honest and upfront with you or even with myself. Because before I can be honest and upfront with you, I have to be honest with myself.
You have to be.
And that goes back to what you said about know thyself.
Mm-hmm.
And
what's also interesting as well is that other people throughout the world, or people want to say law. The prophet studied law.
Right, right.
I mean, Black's Law Dictionary.
Right,
okay,
right.
Well, how come is it that they bypass morals and ethics?
Right.
Because if you go to law school and you take the bar exam, you have to take ethics.
That's right.
And also we know and understand that some people can become disbarred for unethical practices.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And let's define what law is.
Okay.
Living Allah's way.
Ultimately, supreme law.
Because before there was anything about jurisprudence.
That's right.
Wherever you want to say that it came from, England or here in the Americas or wherever, the first laws were Allah's laws.
That's right.
Right? And we know we can study Prophet Moses.
That's right.
We can study Prophet Abraham, and basically these are the individuals who brought to the people the law.
And this is where when you're talking about the individuals, when we're talking about, let's talk about the different eras of time.
That's right.
They actually drew a lot of their inspirations from these laws.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
I mean, if you go into the Supreme Court,
yeah,
you'll see the various lawgivers.
That's right.
Right. Such as Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him.
That's right.
Moses, peace and blessings be upon him, and various other lawgivers, or people that were prophets who were poised and did what Allah wanted them to do.
Exactly.
So this is where we get man-made laws from.
Right. So then we're talking about divine law, and then we're also talking about, you said, man-made law.
Man-made laws.
Right.
That's right.
But you can't have one without the supreme law.
That's right.
That's right. Absolutely.
Because if you abide or adhere to divine law,
right,
then 9 times out of 10, you're not going to break man-made laws.
That's right.
So he's a divine prophet, and that's what he wanted us to aspire to become divine beings.
That's right.
Absolutely. That's what the Moorish Science Temple of America is all about.
That's right.
Coming in to know our divine nature.
Okay.
Because let the truth be told, we're the first founders of the religion, first religious creed, and we're the founders of civilization.
That's right.
You know,
So we're the founders. That's right. And when we're talking about that, the prophet gives us, correct details in Acts 7. The prophet says to keep your hearts and minds filled with love and your bodies clean with water.
That's right.
Definitely, because you got to have a pure mind, to carry out certain things.
That's right.
You can't carry out certain things if you have false intent, or intent to do harm to yourself or harm to someone else. This is why the prophet, he demonstrates in the general laws, and he also demonstrates in what you read in the humanity pamphlet as well.
Mm-hmm.
The prophet generally gives it in chronology. 1 month later, the prophet is still sounding in our ears, look, this is what we need to do.
Yeah.
And even almost 100 years later, the prophet is still sounding in our ears, this is what you need to do.
So it sounds like these tools that we use remind me of the tools that we use in the workshop of the mind.
Right.
Not Masonic tools.
Not at all.
But they are tools that we use in the workshop of the mind. And he talks about using a hammer.
That's right.
Where we can drive home the truth. And these particular tools will help us build up character.
That's right.
So this is what high morality and principles. And people can see it on, they can see your countenance.
That's right.
So.
That's a blessing. We also talked about ethics, right?
Ethics, that's right.
So we're still dealing with ethics. So what are some ethical, just for our viewers, what are some things that can build ethical character? Say, for example, a brother or sister, they heard about Moorish science.
Mm-hmm.
They might watch YouTube. They might be watching our show right now, praise Allah.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, how can we, how can we determine, not really so much determine, but how will we know a Moorish American Muslim? But besides the feds, because, we see people making fezzes now,
making fezzes. And then, like they've reduced it to, there's a proper manner and form and by which one would receive a fez.
Exactly.
It's not supposed to just be sold,
right.
If you will, because we don't sell anything. We accept donations.
That's right.
It's not supposed to just be, you mail order,
right,
or send me whatever, inbox
PayPal.
or whatever, PayPal.
Cash.
No, you're not supposed to receive a fez like that.
Right.
You are, once you become a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America,
that's right,
then there's a process and by which you receive your fez.
That's right.
So and even sisters with turbans,
that's right.
They are taught in the school on how to do it, or how to wear. So some of the things that you can recognize, you won't see them arguing with police officers.
That's right.
Or for that matter, breaking any type of law.
Or any agencies for that matter.
Or any agencies.
We're not
right.
Upsiders,
right.
For the most part.
You won't see us going into any agency telling them that they have no jurisdiction over us. You won't see these particular things. Also, sometimes you can recognize, you might see a symbol. You might, in the inside of their car, they might have a small flag such as this.
That's
or
right.
what's displayed on the desk here with the Moorish and the American flag.
That's right.
Or you go inside of their home or even outside of their home, they may have, the Moorish and American flags, whichever way it's flown.
That's right.
They, these are some of the things that you can recognize. You'll hear them tell people, hey, I'm not black.
Right, exactly.
The shade of my skin is olive.
That's right.
That my nationality
that's right.
is Moorish American.
Right. My race is Asiatic.
It's Asiatic.
That's right.
We're
not saying Asiatic black man.
Right.
Oxymoron.
Right.
We're saying Asiatic.
That's right.
That's right.
So, these are some of the just basic ways that you can recognize. And also you'll see they have a vibrant nature about themselves. And also they have somewhat of a glow.
Sure.
And you'll feel, and the way that they will make you feel is a way that you can pretty much, it's a positive, real uplifting. So they're not going to ask you for finances, or tell you in one breath, well, we don't use, what is it? Fiat.
Right.
But then I've worked 80 hours and you asking me for my fiat to pay for a nationality card or nationality packet. No,
that's not.
Moorish Americans don't do that.
That's not right.
Nationality, so to speak, is free.
That's right.
And what we mean by free, we're saying that monetarily, it shouldn't cost you anything.
That's right.
Now, if you become a member,
that's right.
Of course, we have to upkeep the temple.
Right.
We need water, toilet paper,
and it's going to cost me your time and your effort.
Yeah, your time and effort.
You know, we talk about expense, but we're not focusing so much on the monetary aspect. It's not what the Moorish Society of America can do for you. It's what you can do for the Moorish Society of America.
Right.
We want you to contribute. We want your input.
Your sweat equity.
Your sweat equity, exactly.
Right.
Your time, your efforts, and this is what it means to be a Moorish American Muslim.
That's right.
Putting in the actual time and the work to make, the temple, the Moorish Society of America, propel it to the next level.
Right. To become a nation, because let the truth be told, we are working towards becoming a nation of people.
That's right.
And it's not about, we already know all of that ancient
hatreds,
issues, hatreds, whatever feuds. We not concerned with that. I think 100 and so, or maybe 80 at least, our years have been wasted on those particular things. Now it's just time for us to, come together.
That's right.
And whatever respective operational unity, because we're not saying, hey, forget your teacher.
No, we're not saying
because your teacher is important.
That's right.
Because your teacher is what led you to the Moorish Science Temple of America.
That's right.
However, there are some very fundamental things that we can come together and work on or work with, such as the Divine Constitution and Bylaws.
That's right.
The Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Quran questions for Moorish Americans, the Moorish literature,
that's right.
Humanity Path.
That's right.
These are the very fundamental things that we can work on.
Right.
And,
we can
too. And we can agree upon.
Came from the source, the prophet, that additional source with the evidence, the proof that's attached to it. The words of the prophet, right?
Right.
That's right.
And before I get down on a person's or start talking about a person's teacher,
that's right.
First, I should seek to understand before being understood. That's a good practice to practice, because why don't you get into understanding why a leader may have done a certain thing, and even the person that you're talking to, they may not even know
exactly.
Because it happened so long
generations ago.
But they can give you a basic understanding of what they observed or what they carefully observed, and vice versa with ourselves. We can do the same thing.
That's right.
But ultimately, we give high and esteem honor goes to Prophet Noble Drew Ali, because once again, he is the man of the hour. And of course, there are various other individuals who came and kept the doors of the Moorish Science Temple of America open.
That's right.
And they did it via proper instructions.
That's right.
That's why we're here today.
That's right. So proper instructions. Absolutely. Yeah.
Praise Allah.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's just it's very important, scholarly. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali, he was scholarly.
Right.
So, we want to, so to speak, look towards some experts in certain areas.
Right.
Because we read from various different sources.
Yes, we do.
But we ultimately use the Prophet Noble Drew Ali as our springboard, so to speak,
exactly.
or our pivot point.
That's right.
And as a result of that, this is how we actually come into the understanding of, what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was actually speaking of and using it in the right context.
Right.
Because I've seen people who they've taken a bit and piece of what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said. Mm-hmm. Just like some preachers take the Bible and take bits and pieces of it and run with it.
Right.
Or, I've seen people take bits and pieces of, various aspects of what Prophet Noble Drew Ali has demonstrated. And they'll just demonstrate a portion that fits to the context that they want it to fit.
Right.
And, try to make other people look bad. And that's really not. That's not scholarly.
It's not ethical.
And it's not ethical.
Right.
And it's definitely not moral
at all.
Right. And it's definitely not connected to anything that's divine.
Not at all.
Yeah.
That's what the prophet actually, the prophet demonstrates that too in the Moorish literature. Because the prophet Noble Drali demonstrates the Moorish leader's historical message. The prophet Noble Drali, he explains to you and I, I'm just going to read a portion of it, right? The prophet says, read carefully the doctrines of the Moorish science of America. So everything that Sheikh Bilal just made mention of, everything he made mention of.
Yes,
so the prophet said, the prophet said to read the doctrines. And he said it contains our hopes, our aims, our rules, and articles of religion, right? He said every member should have a copy. Every member should have a copy. In conclusion, I urge you to remember that it is work enough for all to do and help him build a better world. So that means, from the individual just coming into the door, for the Moor who's been there for 60, 70 years, we got work amongst all of us.
That's right.
And the prophet also says the problems of life are largely social and economic.
Social and economic.
Now let's talk about that, right? So he says it's social. We're talking about community, we're talking about nation, talking about organization, everything on this show tonight. But the prophet also explains to you and I that there's something parallels off with that social and emotional economic aspect.
That's right.
And that social economic aspect is this. The prophet says, in a profound sense, they are moral and spiritual, because this is what's going to take. This is what's going to take. It's going to take us to tap into that moral and spiritual aspect as Moorish American Muslims to take this to the next level.
That's right.
Regardless of what house you may sit in, this is what Moore said. It's going to take moral and spiritual uplifting to deal with those social and economic problems we find ourselves in.
And let's be clear when we talking about house.
Right, because there's only one house.
Right. Well, we not talking about nothing Mason.
No,
we ain't talking about nothing dealing with shrines.
Not at all.
We are talking about, when we say house, we are talking about whatever jurisdiction or various leaders that you come from after the Prophet Noble. So I just want to be clear with that.
Clear.
And when we talking about moral and social, now he says in a more profound sense, it's spiritual and religious.
No, moral and spiritual.
Oh, moral and spiritual.
That's right.
So now what happens is now we start to see where the higher self and the lower self come in, right? And getting to know that man is a triunity. That we have a spirit, a soul, and a body.
That's right.
And those three things have to be harmonized in order for us to operate at our holistic and full and optimal capacity. So, there's we might have an issue. And I have in the past, but we were able to, we were able to come together, work it out, and move forward. And that's what brothers and sisters or people in general.
That's right.
Like, it shouldn't bog us down to the point where I'm not talking to you, or, and that's immaturity, or elementary. And we have to rise above those particular things. And these are the more profound, because that's work that we have to do. That's internal, and some mental, so these are some of the things that, we've learned coming into the Moorish Science Temple of America and aspiring to become who it is that we say that we are, which are sheiks.
That's right. The prophet also says, have a lofty conception of your duties to country and your fellow men in general, and especially those with whom you deal. That means when you're in the public, when you're in the private, when you're in your home, when you're dealing with you might be on your job, you might, like I said earlier, you might be an entrepreneur, you might be dealing with your employees.
That's right.
You got to have a lofty conception of your duties to your country and your fellow men. So the prophet, he didn't say that we're agitators. He didn't say that we aren't, we're not citizens. The prophet never said that. The prophet lets you know and I, lets you and I both know, or those of you who are listening in our audience, know that we are, in fact, citizens of this country. In that fact, we have a duty and obligation to follow the laws of this country.
That's right.
On top of the divine laws of this country.
That's right.
Because let the prophet demonstrate.
Because let the truth be told, there were 35 Moors.
That's right.
And 20 Anglo-Saxons who actually established what this country is all about. So the Prophet Noble Ali was never at odds with America.
That's right.
And in later shows we'll go into demonstrate and prove that what we're saying is the gospel truth.
Facts, right.
So people were saying, Yeah, there's some people who are in place that are not really adhering to the principles or the creed of what this country is all about and was founded on.
That's right.
But we can't wholeheartedly blame the whole country,
Right.
you know, because somewhere I hear say, this land is your land, this land is my land. From where? California to the New York Islands.
Right.
So when we talk about the history of California and we talk about the history of the New York Islands,
right.
I think people might change their conception of what it is that's actually being said, you know. So, man, you know, I praise Allah every day for the Prophet Noble Drew and, you know, the Moorish Science Temple of America and all those who have, you know, kept the doors of the Moorish Science Temple of America open.
Allowing us the opportunity to even be here, you know.
That's right, man.
Allowing us the opportunity, you know.
Right.
That's right, definitely. You know.
So we winding down because we have probably a little less than 4 minutes, or 3 minutes really, left in the show. We hope that, you know, people have learned a little bit of something from, you know, what we're presenting here. And, you know, we had a little technical difficulty for the past 2 weeks, and we apologize to you because, you know, probably you were waiting, looking forward. Yeah, or these guys not going to be consistent, you know, but we really appreciate you for being patient with us. You know, like I said, we kind of new to this, but we are definitely true to this.
That's right.
And basically, you know, we ask you to keep tuning in.
That's right.
I think we got all our technical issues. Not saying we won't experience it again, but I think we had most of that worked out.
That's okay.
And you know, we're going to move forward and bringing you, like we said at the beginning of our shows and our introduction, we're going to bring more sense to what it is that, you know, the Moorish Science Temple of America, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and Allah is all about.
That's right.
You know, so
we also like to, you know, encourage you, if you haven't already done so, like the Facebook page, Moorish American Society of Maryland. Also, make sure you look up our website, www.nobledrewali.org. Definitely check the website out. And last but not least, we invite you out Friday, Holy Day, from 8 to 10, 1055 North Milton Avenue here in Baltimore, Maryland. Come and give praise to the God of your understanding. You know, bring your family if you have a family. That's right. Bring yourself if you have yourself. You know, just, you know, come out and hear a good word. And then on Sundays, we invite you out for more Sunday school and bring your questions and your answers as well. Because we know, like the sheep just said earlier, we know we don't know it all. You know, we know that we have a portion, you have a portion. So we invite you to bring your portion out under love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, of course.
That's right. That's right. And if you're in a city that has a Moorish Science Temple of America, please feel free to visit that Moorish Science Temple of America, and you know, wherever it may be, or if you can drive, you know, that's not going to take you out your way, you know, please feel free to do that. You know, so we're not going to hold you unduly. We thank you for tuning in.
Absolutely.
And you know, in the near future, we'll definitely be back next Thursday. Same Moorish times, same Moorish channel.
That's right. Islam and peace.
Islam and peace.